Hinomankima Taikum Kitupa Tato Shetuya. I'm Julia Bernal. I am from Sandia Pueblo. And Sandia Pueblo is my home, the home of my ancestors, the home of the Tiwa speaking people. Sandia Pueblo is its colonial name as we were first colonized by Spanish conquest. But my people know Sandia as Dovshetuyai, which is the green reed place. My existence is an active resistance against colonization. Knowing that I am here because of my ancestors' resistance in 1540, during the Pueblo Revolt, and during the Trail of Tears, grounds me in the work that I do today as I work with my community. I work with other Pueblo Indigenous people, as well as all types of Indigenous people around the world in an act of resistance against colonization and in an act to protect our lands and our waters from capitalism and the commodification that capitalism induces. And I am embodied with this feeling that everything that I need is here. And my ancestors' resistance is the reason why I'm here today. Chaco Canyon is a culturally sensitive Pueblo site where our ancestors used to trade songs, trade medicine, trade feathers with other Indigenous people, as it was a World Trade Center for other Indigenous people who migrated through Chaco Canyon and found that place to be a central place of knowledge and actually a place where our traditional ecological knowledge began. Chaco Canyon is under attack by the current oil and gas industry that has been poisoning the land, the water, the air, and the people for generations. About 93% of the public lands surrounding Chaco Canyon have already been leased out for oil and gas development. The thousands of fracking wells in the area have produced adverse environmental impacts, but also adverse health impacts to the Dene communities that live within the region. The oil and gas development within the Four Corners region has been contributing so much to carbon emissions and methane emissions that there now sits a methane plume that you could visibly see in space. Fracking operations also impact water resources and threaten freshwater supplies that is so desperately needed in the arid environment of the Southwest. There has been a historical legacy of extractive colonialism within the state of New Mexico, not just for fracking, but uranium mining, for nuclear wars. We are a resource-rich state, thus we have been deemed sacrifice zones, energy sacrifice zones by previous presidential administrations. It has told us that our Indigenous communities are expendable to the endless capitalist gain that these resources have for the global capitalist market, and thus tells us that our lives aren't as important as others. Our organization also advocates for the movement that is titled #LandBack, but we also offer a secondary and sister movement to the Land Back movement, which is #WaterBack. WaterBack means addressing all of the unsettled Indian water claims and also rightfully allocating water deliveries to the Indigenous communities that were here first. There is a desperate need for change in how our water is being managed in the state, as we are now entering issues of rising temperatures and urbanization. We simply can't mobilize people to stand in front of over 60,000 fracking wells that spread across the state of New Mexico. We're dealing with multiple government jurisdictions, otherwise known as checkerboarded areas, that manage our lands inequitably and continue to misuse and mismanage the water and the resources that sit within those land parcels. In this moment, we are seeing many changes. We are seeing changes in regards to racial acceptance and racial equity. We are seeing changes in how power has been consolidated over generations. And we are seeing changes in our environment. Indigenous frontline communities are bearing the brunt of climate change, who ultimately contribute the least amount to the climate crisis. Climate change is because of capitalism. Climate change is because of colonialism. And we have to make sure that we are addressing these issues, these global systemic issues, as they have been impacting Black, Indigenous people of color for far too long. Indigenous people have the solutions and the traditional ecological knowledge to address climate justice. There needs to be a paradigm shift from the white patriarchal dominion that has been misusing and mismanaging our water and our cultural resources for far too long. We must shift to an Indigenous worldview in order for us to create solutions and mitigate climate change. More so, we need to shift to a paradigm that is ultimately an Indigenous feminist perspective. As an Indigenous woman who has been dedicating their life to studying waterways, I understand that our water and our river systems encompass the feminine energy, and thus are our mothers, our other mothers of this earth. And we must do our right to her and to them in protecting them and giving them personhood and the respect that they deserve, instead of commodifying them for market-based economic gain. Centering feminist Indigenous perspectives is non-negotiable in this moment. I want to say Hagamshim to my entire Pueblo Action Alliance family, and I just want to tell you all that I am so incredibly proud of all of the work and all of the dedication that you've put in to ensuring that our Pueblo communities have a clean future. You work tirelessly for our movement. You work tirelessly for our revolution.